Hey Canucks fans, is the Canucks defense finally rounding into form? I'm Clay Emo, I'm at Canuck Clay on Twitter, I'm at Clayton Emo on Instagram. I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club. This is my Canucks take, all in one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Sunday, February the 14th. This is where you get Canucks insight that's positive and timely. Want to give a shout out to my Hall of Fame members, Jens95, Sim Alexander, Just Incredible, and Nux fan number 29. Thank you for your support. And to all members of all levels, you're listed in the video description. I thank you for your support as well. If you want to join this channel as a member of the CCC Crew, you can hit the join button underneath this video, or you can look up the memberships tab on my YouTube channel, on the YouTube page itself. And don't forget, franchise and Hall of Fame members, it's our first ever members only live stream, and that is tonight at 8 p.m. Pacific. So I hope to see you then. The link is in the community tab on my channel. Okay, let's talk about last night's game. Let's talk about what I think the biggest difference was, what was noticeable, not only last night, for the past three nights, three games, even though the Canucks have only won one of them, and that is the maturing, the rounding out, the better play of our defense. And I recognize, and I've always said, that defense is more than the six guys on the blue line. It includes the goaltenders, of course. It includes the forwards, and I'll talk about them in a second. But I want to spend most time talking about the 6 D-men last night. It was good. It was good. And what really stood out to me when I looked, aside from the fact that the Canucks only give up 19 shots, which is very impressive. Although I must admit, Calgary, despite only having 19 shots, 4, 5, 6 of them were really good quality shots. Because Calgary, you've seen, they make a lot of these plays where they pass it from behind the net or from below the goal line out to the front. They love those quick one-timers to the slot, but Demko was up to the challenge. The only goal beating him on a slight misplay by the Lotto line. Miller, backhand pass out of the reach of Pettersson, and then the Canucks were caught scrambling. And then a nice play by Calgary immediately in the offensive zone, and Sam Bennett with the only one beating Thatcher Demko. But overall, they played so well defensively, and I'll talk about the players themselves, and then we'll talk about systems in a second. But what really stood out to me, I didn't notice this until I was doing my post-game live stream. Quinn Hughes only played 17 minutes. We're used to seeing him 21, 22, sometimes 24 minutes. And I get it. The Canucks only had one power play, and he played 2/3 of that power play. So he had 1 minute and 26 seconds of power play time. But that's it. The Canucks only had that one power play. So as opposed to 20 or 21 minutes, Hughes only played 17 and a half minutes. It was actually Edler and Myers and Schmidt who they all played over 22 minutes, just under 23 minutes. And then you had Ben at 17 as well, basically the same as Hughes. That was bolstered by 3 Calgary penalty power plays. Ben plays on the penalty kill, Hughes does not. And then even Ole Levy had 15 and a half minutes, which was great to see, as opposed to 11 or 12 minutes. So overall, I really like the way that Travis Green spread out his minutes. And like I said, a lot had to do with the fact that the Canucks only got one power play, but still, you weren't wearing Quinn Hughes out. And maybe even these little incremental steps, saving 2 minutes here, 3 minutes there, it's going to add up later in the season. So not only did Quinn play only the 4th highest minutes, but I'd say Edler, Myers, and Schmidt, I wouldn't say they outplayed Hughes, but they played well. They played well in those minutes. Myers had probably his strongest game of the season. I think Schmidt was starting to look more confident, and Edler with just crazy self. He was still playing hard, playing big, elbowing guys, taking penalties, everything you'd expect from Alex Edler. So overall, a really good showing by the Canucks defense, and I really like what I'm seeing from Ole Levy. Not only that hit on Matthew Tkachuk, which was nice, a battle of the 2016 5th and 6th overall draft picks, but rather a confidence. His first pass, I said, is always good, and he's getting more comfortable with his position. Yes, he's never gonna have the fastest foot speed, but I do like the way Ulevy is playing. So I think all 6 guys, Ben, Edler, Hughes, Ulevy, Myers, and Schmidt, all played really well last night. Oh, by the way, I just noticed, not only in number order, but in alphabetical order. Alphabetically, they go by number order, right? Number order, 8, 23, 43, 48, 57, 88. And then that's Ben, Edler, Hughes, Levy, Myers, Schmidt. So by fluke, all 6 defensemen go alphabetically in order according to their number. That's something small, I just noticed. Of course, I think you put Chatfield in there, and that messes it all up, but that's okay. So speaking of Chatfield, Ben and Chatfield played well in the Ottawa stretch. played well in that win over Winnipeg, but then things start to unravel. Those 2 losses against Montreal, the 3 losses against Toronto, and Chatfield basically lost a spot to Juolevi that necessitated Schmidt flopping from the left side to the right side. And maybe there's more balance that way, because when you put Schmidt on the left side, you could argue you have our best defenders on the left when you had Hughes, Schmidt, and Edler on the left, and that just left Myers and Ben and Chatfield on the right. Not as strong in Hamonic when he comes back, but when you move Schmidt to the right side, you're much more balanced, and you have a top 4 of Hughes and Ben, or Hamonic when he comes back, and then Edler and Schmidt, and then you have Myers and Juolevi playing on the third pair. But as we see, Travis Green mixes his pairings up. So overall, great showing by the defense overall. I like the way they limited Hughes' minutes. I like the way that Edler, Schmidt, and Myers played in particular, and Juolevi is doing well as a rookie. Goaltending was good. Demko was good. He only faced 19 shots. Sometimes those are harder games than 30 or 35 shot appearances, though. So I thought he was sharp. He was great. And I thought the forwards played really well. Thomas Drance talked about this in the Athletes, and other people have talked about it as well, is you just see how they've switched. And instead of having F3, the third forward, go in and forecheck aggressively and sometimes getting caught below the dots, now you're seeing that third forward probably more conservatively and more responsibly hanging around in the dots area, the slot area, never going too far down. And therefore, they're able to break up so many transition plays by Calgary in the neutral zone. They're actually able to pin Calgary into their zone. Calgary made so many turnovers in their own end, leading to really good chances. I can think of chances by Eriksson and Pettersson and others. And then also, the Canucks had a really good penalty kill last night, killing all 3. And I think Calgary only got 1 shot combined over the 3 power plays. They simply had no time and space to get set up. So easier said than done. It's not like they're going to do this every game, but I thought the Canucks played a complete game defensively last night. And then we saw that it's kind of like how we felt sometimes when Toronto or Montreal were out shooting us 2-1 margin. It was nice to see the tables turned last night. A couple other things about the goals. Hughes' goal, we've talked about it before. I talked about it last night in depth, both in my video and my recap and the live stream. Just a wonderful play. Stealing the puck from Johnny Gaudreau, anticipating that, using Pettersson as a decoy, having Valimaki shade towards Pettersson, and then in one motion, as he's faking that pass to Pettersson to the left, he then fires it post and in past Markey, who had that slight hesitation as well. So really, really nice play by Hughes. And then on the second goal by Myers, the Canucks were applying a lot of pressure, and Myers made a really nice play in the neutral zone to thwart a Calgary advance, and he brought it over the line himself, went across the other side and put a shot through some traffic on past Markstrom. Pettersson waving at it, but it already crossed the line. So overall, 2 really good goals by the defenseman, and that was nice. And then Sutter, of course, adding the empty netter, and Louis Eriksson, not to be denied his empty net points, got an assist on that. Last thing I want to say about the defense real quick. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Hamonic comes in, because in theory, you'd think that Travis Hamonic is a better option than say Jordy Ben. But Jordy Ben, he started off really well, then he kind of dipped a little bit, but then he's kind of like the whole team. He's played well again the last couple games. So when Hamonic is ready to go, it'll be fascinating to see what happens. Do you still try him with Hughes once again and break up what's been an okay thing between Hughes and Ben? Do you bring him in for someone else and then have Schmidt flip back to the left and then take Juolevi's spot? So there's a lot of things that can happen. But yeah, it'd be nice when Hamonic at least is fully recovered, so we have the most options possible on our blue line, and it's always good to have options, of course, especially when things aren't going well. It's easier to switch things up when there are more people around. All right, Canucks fans, so there's a quick comment on last night's game, in particular, the strong defensive play of the entire team, not just the blue liners, but the goaltenders and the forwards as well. Let me know what you thought about last night's game. Let me know what you thought about our defensive effort. And let me know what you think. What's your ideal top 6 on the blue line, that is, when Travis Hamonic is ready to play? Do you bring him in? Do you let him wait? Do you bring him on the right? And do you move Schmidt out to the left and sit Juolevi? Or do you keep Schmidt on the right and then sit Jordy Ben? Let me know what you think. Would love to know. Yeah, it'd be nice to put some predictions here now. Not that they're the end of the world or whatever, and then we can talk about it as Hamonic gets closer to return to the lineup. Lastly, it was nice for the Canucks to win. I think if they lost, it would have made Aquilini look pretty bad given his tweets that I talked about in detail yesterday. But I do believe him, like I said, when he says he doesn't plan to make changes, and the Canucks at least have a bit of breathing room to enjoy today, Valentine's Day, and then tomorrow, Family Day, before they host the Calgary Flames one more time. I hope to take a lead in at least this particular series and start clawing their way back to the playoff fight.